Took me a while to find the intro button. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jodo Cast, your home for Star Wars gaming. I am joined this time, I almost said this week, but our schedule's not quite weekly, by Leo.
I mean, it is a week right now, so.
And Kurt.
Hello, in 3D if you're watching on YouTube. Woo!
Yeah, make sure to put on your 3D glasses for this one. And special / familiar face guest is Evan.
Hey-o! That's all. Wow, I'm breaking shit.
Don't do that.
All right, carry on.
All right, so we're here again. This is our second attempt at recording this because Zencaster hates Kurt.
Yes.
So hopefully you're actually hearing this and we didn't also throw away this recording. Before we get started, I'm going to give a big shout out and thank you to our patrons and YouTube members because they actually like what we do enough to help us keep it going. So thanks, guys.
I can just the levels of gratitude are just like
Thanks
oozing
so
out
much,
of every
guys.
pore.
You give us so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I'll write you with. Mom said I had to write you a thank you note.
My mom said I had to give you this.
But for real, it's like still very like unbelievable to me that people like us that much.
I believe it. Of course.
Well, I mean, I believe they like me that much, but
Obviously.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. Maybe all their notes was like, "This is only because of Leo. I'm offering this support."
Well, when we can start selling the replica Leo beards on Redbubble, that's when we know that
Mandy start making some of those like knit beards you see people
there
wear
you
sometimes.
go. Yeah.
It's we've had a lot of ideas for merch, but obviously that one's going to jump to the top. You don't need new T-shirts or stickers or anything. So we are going to skip our usual what you've been playing, and instead we are going to get right into the. I guess this is sort of an obituary or a funeral. It's not even
eulogy.
A eulogy.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking today about the end of Star Wars X-Wing and Armada. Armada's not going to get as much attention here because Armada was on life support and the plug up.
It was on hospice.
Pretty much.
I think it was beyond that. X-Wing, however, was X-Wing was, a guy in his 60s who maybe didn't bike as much as he should have, but like still kind of shocking.
Yes, he's slowing down, but you still didn't think he would have a heart attack this age, you know?
Yeah, and so, X-Wing was already like, I'm on my way out, or Armada was already, Armada was saying, hey guys, I've got my will in affairs in order. X-Wing wasn't quite there. So,
jeez.
So Atomic Mass Games posted a short post on their website, update on Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. After long and careful consideration, we're here today to announce the end of development of Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. We are grateful for the community's passionate engagement and support. Over the past few years, rising production costs, global manufacturing, and pandemic-related challenges have made it increasingly difficult to produce high-quality, pre-painted miniatures, which ultimately led to the decision to end development. Although development's ending, we're not stepping away from these games entirely. Atomic Mass Games will continue to support tournaments or an organized play for both games, with OP kits to be found in your local shops, culminating at the Open World Championship at Adepticon in 2025. So, organized play still going to be a thing.
At least through Adepticon.
Yeah, at least through next March, but I would be
So-
surprised if it stopped because they've been doing organized play for Armada this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only reason listed was basically it cost too much to produce, which makes sense because making the pre-painted minis, I'm sure, is a whole different ballgame than what they. It's clear that they know how to do sprue stuff, and I almost wonder if it just doesn't fit with their whole
Yeah.
I mean, there's
vibe
some
of
of that.
That's
pre-painted
more.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
even during the Fantasy Flight times, they've said that Armada's manufacturing costs were higher than they originally thought or planned for everything to be, which is why they've had to do price increases a couple times on Armada products.
Yeah.
Just a couple
Yeah, I wonder if
times?
there was a point in X-Wing where they thought, well, keep increasing the price, people just aren't going to buy it at that point, so I guess we'll just stop. Because obviously you could just keep increasing the price of the products, but at a certain point, people are probably not going to be willing to pay that anymore.
Could be
You
interesting if
would
they.
be surprised, sir.
There's definitely gonna be some diehards that would pay even as the cost increases, and they already
Yeah, it would still slowly die off though, because you probably wouldn't get the people onboarding anymore.
That's why you
At
need a
certain-
loss leader, but that's getting into the very tall weeds of of the business side. And
I don't know. I mean, I do think the cost factor is fair, but I definitely don't think it's the whole picture. I don't think that
Right.
alone kills the
Yeah.
game. Obviously, it
No.
like impacts it. It makes it
I
harder.
think
But
it seems like it's
there's
the
ways to work around it too. I mean, I'm not a business guy.
I
But
I
think
think you were
they're-
on the right track with X-Wing and Armada are not in the wheelhouse of AMG, and that's not a slight against them. It's just my perception. I won't even call it a fact. I'm not calling it a fact. It's my perception of the situation, and I agree with you.
I mean, I don't think anyone on this podcast disagrees with that take. I think we all agree that X-Wing and Armada never really felt like they were AMG's games. They never really felt like they quite
When
jived
they-
with the way they like to develop games.
when they did
there
X-Wing
was-
2.5, it felt like okay, this
taking the
definitely
reins
feels.
a little bit.
And
basically.
I liked the 2.5 rules despite. I think we should all also be clear. I'll speak for myself. I have played very little X-Wing in the last couple years.
Yeah, same.
It's
I actually want to pipe in because I know it's been a couple years, pandemic and everything, but I had one of my buddies from Army that was from Army Mother that was like, I want to play X-Wing, and I said, okay, great, I've got tons of X-Wing, and so I bought into 2.0, and it was a lot of fun, and it helped that I won. So I mean, 2.0 was good.
Second
I
edition
thought-
was good.
and
I
I
mean,
thought
there's-
2.5 was. I liked those changes as well. I don't think that was as popular with people, but I liked those changes.
There's, I don't know. You see people like on Reddit arguing back and forth about it. The fact of the matter is, though, I mean, they have seen significantly less people attending large events since the rules change. I mean, like attendance at events had been cut down by like about 50% since 2.5 changes. Yeah.
I mean, there's still a huge crowd of people. There's more people playing X-Wing than Legion and all the other games at Adepticon.
And those are the
this
only
year.
numbers that I'm aware of are the Adepticon numbers.
Yeah. Well, this is based on, I think people are looking at stats for events on List Juggler, which is
What's
the main.
what's that name again?
List Juggler.
List Juggler. Okay.
Yes. It's a place where lists and tournament
Jugglers.
results get posted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to record your X-Wing stats, you go there, and if you want to record your juggling stats, you go
Yes,
I
you can
see.
also go there. So there's that. So I mean, that was probably part of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they definitely lost some of the
but
player base by changing
I
styles a bit. They tried their style more, but it wasn't a fit for some
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this might have been something handed down to them by Asmodee,
That's what I'm thinking.
because I mean, it really wasn't that much before this that Will Schick had his big interview with Kravik. This was just like a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and he sounded
He sounded
like
positive.
there was a
for
future,
stuff
like
that
he was positive, at
came out.
least for the future of X-Wing. He
Right?
wouldn't he
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
say anything
Mm-hmm.
really, but he sounded like there was plans for a future.
Yeah.
it gives me almost the impression that they were stuck with like Asmodee saying, "Hey, we're gonna crunch some business people numbers on these guys, and you have to like put a pause on any announcements and anything you're doing with this until we decide if this product is viable for the company." And they're sitting there going, "We want to do more, even if it's whatever. Like we want to keep this game going because I know they enjoy the game. Like we saying maybe it's not fit in their design philosophy.
Yeah,
I
no,
know they personally like playing the
Mhm.
game,
yeah, for sure.
so it does sound like okay, maybe they were like handcuffed by Asmodee, waiting to say okay, maybe they had a few things they wanted to develop, but Asmodee said, hold on, okay, actually, yeah, this is just not the profit margins aren't good.
Yeah, I
Cut it out.
mean,
Yeah.
Asmodee does
Yeah.
have, after being spun off from Embracer, they do have that $2 billion in debt to deal with. So
Yeah, thanks,
there's
Embracer.
this very well could be uh, a casualty
Yeah.
of that. Will
Well,
Yeah,
and even going
will
back to March at Adepticon when they said, "Hey, we're going to tell you something later. We just can't tell you right now." I mean,
Right. That's not them teasing that they're about to cancel it. Right?
right. Yeah,
exactly.
I it did give me the impression that they had things they wanted to say. They wanted to give the people something, and they were being like handcuffed by Asmodee. That could be completely not the case. We don't know. I don't believe
yeah,
we'll ever
and
know. It's not the kind of thing
and
they'll
I
talk
feel like
about. But
if this had been something that had been bubbling for a while, I mean, like the whole grand tournament changeover didn't happen that long ago. You don't think they would have, you know, I guess they are still saying they're going to do OP support, so maybe that wouldn't have affected things. Um, although I will be interested to see if OP support does carry on after Adepticon. I don't think, at least I couldn't find anywhere where they've answered anybody asking about that. And the way it's worded in the announcement, saying that it's all going to culminate in the World Championships here this next spring. I don't know. The word culminate has a finality to it to me.
Oh
but
yeah, that means the game will be complete, just like LCG and Destiny and all the other ones. Sorry, I was pulling my headphones out of my cat's mouth.
yes, I saw.
Yeah.
yeah, so we've got in the kind of the Force Ghost at Endor scene is now Imperial Assault, LCG, Destiny, X-Wing, and Armada.
Well, and of course,
Does that mean that
What?
X-Wing gets de-aged in the new version, and we X-Wing
Yeah.
1.0?
Yeah, it shows
Oh.
up as 1.0 in the special editions or
Yeah.
on the Blu-ray release.
no, what that means is that X-Wing is like Yoda, LCG is Obi-Wan, and the RPG is Anakin because it's not quite dead yet, but it soon may possibly be. It's in limbo right now.
I
Those are
wouldn't
the three siblings from 2012.
so if Armada was on hospice, the RPG is it's just sort of, there's like a missing persons alert.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a
Like it could very well turn up the next day like jacked and ripped and the healthiest it's ever been,
Or a
or we could
corpse.
find its body in the woods. Either of those things are completely as likely. Obviously, we hope for one. The fact that we haven't seen them in a couple months makes it more likely that it's the other. But
So funny, but it is. I apologize.
so the X-wing is gone. I think we've the sense that I have personally is that it was never their favorite game. They never wanted, like, because it was like kind of forced on them when Asmodee decided to be all shifty.
That's a good way to put it.
As in shifting games around, but also kind of, it didn't seem like the best. It seemed like a smart like businessman brain move, but not the best from like the people who make the games. It seemed like, okay, well, this wasn't, they didn't want to have to develop this, but then they did, and they liked the game, but it was never like their priority. But they
It's
didn't
kind
want
of
to kill it. And now
stepchild.
it's,
You know,
yeah, like, okay,
this
well,
weird
hey,
metaphor, a stepchild. There was one stepchild on hospice.
I
One
mean,
okay, this is okay.
We're getting
So-
more Dickensian as time goes on.
Simone definitely X-Wing, I think, definitely had a place in Simone's heart for sure.
100%.
For sure.
I specifically talked to her about
And-
just
Yeah,
she liked X-Wing a lot.
and that's another reason why I feel like maybe this was more of a something that came down from the top, because I think
Yeah.
Simone would have liked to see something for X-Wing
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, I know that they know that people still loved the game, and I know that they liked the game, and I feel like they were probably in a place trying to slow down the cadence of the game a bit, but it doesn't seem like they would maliciously or just heartlessly say it's
Yeah.
over.
Not hurtlessly, but I do think it's worth being realistic too about. I don't know how many resources they put on it, but they
Right.
weren't releasing a lot of stuff for it. If you compare to like Legion, that again was this kind of stepchild game, but they have invested. They're putting out a lot of content, maybe less content than other years for sure, but they're releasing a lot of new expansions and factions and stuff, and they haven't kept up with that in X-Wing for a long time. So, even if they were excited for new stuff to come out, it was already at like a lower level of development in some way. It had less
Right.
resources or something.
Yeah, like I said, it was kind of like, it's not our favorite, but we like it. Kind of
Yeah.
sort of like my relationship with X-Wing at this point. Like, I think it's a great game. It's just I have other games that I enjoy playing slightly more. So
Joe, I'm sure you have a very detailed bullet point framework for how you want this episode to go.
nope.
See, you just say yes, 100%, absolutely.
I have a medium detailed bullet point.
All that patron-funded scripting.
The only thing that I'm good for in this conversation, really, besides saying the last time I played, I won, so the game is great, is taking us back in time. Everyone, just close your eyes and think of 2012. And Gen Con 2012. I mean, even before, when we were getting the previews, that was all fine and dandy. But when we hit the show floor Thursday, Gen Con 2012, and they said, sorry, we're already sold out. We're diverting a truck from Minnesota to come down because everyone's buying 3, 4, 5 boxes at a time. And then I managed the next day to get one for me, one for Leo. And that was it. That was our experience next week.
I mean, it's such a perfect concept for a game. I didn't hear about it at that time. I heard about it, 6 months later or something, when like the second wave was coming out. And I saw a picture and it just like it clicked immediately, right? Like, oh, I want my little spaceships and I want to like fly around and like roll dice. It's like such like a perfect premise. You know,
Was the LCG came first,
No,
right? That was,
no, it
or
was
the RPG.
X-Wing. In fact, so X-Wing came out at Gen Con that summer.
Yep.
Um, then in November they had their first X-Wing Worlds, and I went to that, and it was me, and I think there was about 30 of us there playing X-Wing, and um,
And you got a freebie,
and
free
yeah,
box.
and so they gave out a copy of the core set of the LCG to everybody who played in the X-Wing Worlds.
wow.
Um, and this was still, and this was that was, I think it was about a month or two before the game, before the LCG was actually supposed to release.
Yeah,
So
X-Wing hit store shelves in September, and then LCG hit store shelves in December of 2012. And in this time, this is why I talk about the three children, the three siblings at the beginning. RPG was just the beta book from Gen Con. So this was like hype city at the time.
Yeah, so that because they got well, that was Fantasy Flight's first foray with the Star Wars license. So yeah,
yep,
LCG, X-wing, and RPG were the OG three.
Yeah. And like, what a great way to jump into this market. We've got a minis game, a card game, and a role playing game, and they're all coming out like real soon, right? It's crazy.
And two of
yeah.
the three were super good, and the other one was all right.
Yeah, the RPG is just kind of so-so.
Yeah, I think I got X-wing when it launched. I must have got it like when it came out that day because I remember getting it right away and then playing it. Played it with some friends in college, and then started. The organized play started up at the local stores, and that was
Yeah, I feel
just
like it wasn't. It was fairly early on in the game's life that we ran into each other at X-Wing. I mean,
we
we
met at
already knew each
JCPenney.
other at work, but then once we started playing X-Wing, then I decided you were
I'm
cool
sure
enough
that's
to.
X-wing is probably how I met Kurt.
Probably,
Aw.
yeah. It must be. I don't remember specifically,
We've
but
always
it
known
must have
each other.
been.
Yeah, I also don't specifically remember, but it had to have been X-wing. That's also where I met cast member of the show, Chris. Met Chris at X-wing tournament.
Was it? Oh, I guess the real question is who all went to that very first organized play event where you could win a Millennium Falcon or anything else from Wave 2 because they were so behind schedule on getting Wave 2 out. Like, okay, here's tournaments you can play, you can win one of them. That
I
was
remember. I think it was before Wave 3. They had their like store championships had cutesy little names because I remember it was the Assault on Imdar Alpha,
oh,
which is like, what does that
yes.
even mean? And the I believe the winners of the tournament got like an A-wing and an interceptor before they were available to buy in stores,
Mhm.
which was a very cool way to do prizes is
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
have these
It was.
things
It
early.
also ended up being very cool because both A-wings and interceptors ended up being hard as hell to get once they did come out because everyone bought the shit out of them because
That's
they were really good ships at the time.
if anyone needs some real ye old X-wing history, I'm pretty sure the oldest video currently available on our channel from February 2015, so already 2.5 years
Oh, come
into
on.
the game's life, is
You know I'm going to do you better than that, right?
what I haven't finished what I was saying.
Go ahead. I'll finish.
In the oldest video on our channel is an interview with Alex Davey because we were lucky enough that the lead designer at the time, he didn't design X-Wing at the beginning, was a local at our game shop. So the game store owner, Rich, who's been on the show before, was like, hey, come to our X-Wing tournament and talk to these kids.
Oh, that's
and
right. That's right.
Which
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
and
awesome.
so
Yeah.
I filmed that, and then I think that's the oldest video on our channel is this kind of bootleg looking recording of basically during the lunch break in the tournament, the players just doing a Q&A with the lead designer of the game, which was cool.
It's a wild time to go back to. Like some of those early ships that were so core, like you said, like the A-Wing and Interceptor. Like imagine the first several months of this game where those weren't even in it yet. It's just like X-Wings.
And I remember
XXY and then TIE Squad. That's it.
I those like all those original pilots like Dark Curse and all those TIE fighter pilots. I was like, oh, this is. I remember those guys way more than everything from the years since. And then I remember I first run in with like, oh, competitive games can suck, because then everyone was doing. There was a couple like real busted combos that everyone would run, like
Soon Tier
Han
fell
Solo
and pushed
and
the limit.
Yep.
Back
Or-
in the
I feel like there wasn't that didn't really happen too bad in like the first wave.
Not in the
The
first
first-
wave.
there was
no,
like
no.
the
Like fourth and fifth wave. Like
Then there was that one
Once
where
we
you
got-
could
Palp intercessors. That's when it really.
Or like
ancestors,
there was the shit
TIE
with the
ancestor.
the
Aces.
the,
That's
the
what it was.
fort
Aces.
the fortressing
Yeah.
YT 1300s, that was bullshit.
Mhm.
That
Twin
was
laser
where
turrets sucked.
If you had two Falcons and pointed them into each other and programmed them to do one speeds, they would not move because they would just bump each other. But they had 360 degrees, so they basically now they have just a little stationary 360 degree space station you have to fight, which was obviously pretty antithetical to the point of the game.
There was a couple different lists. It wasn't always just Falcons, but there was a couple different lists that out there for a while that basically relied on you equip turrets on everything in your list, and then you just sit in at one corner of the map and just bump into your own guys so you don't go anywhere, and you force the opponent to have to fly into your
was
pile of turrets.
Yeah, that's why in 2.0 the turrets have like a facing. It was because it was such an issue in the first one to have 360 degree firing arcs that they alternated, or they changed that, which was obviously a good move.
I think that's why I was so much better at using the command dials. Pretty much the exact same mechanic in Rune Wars, because you were encouraged to smash into the guy instead of, oh no, I want to avoid and get behind. Like, no, just get in there, just smash into him.
Jodocast bingo. Evan mentioned Rune Wars.
Yo, you're welcome.
I don't have an air horn sound effect.
How do you not?
I think I removed it because I can only have so many. I needed other things.
Oh.
It is crazy to go back to all those early days, though, and like what the ships were coming out and what the meta was. Every wave was so exciting because there weren't that many ships, and there were always new mechanics, cloaking, and now there's a cannon slot, like stuff like that. Like felt so wild.
Yeah,
I mean the Hawk 290 was revolutionary at the time.
They announced the epic ships.
Yeah.
I just boxed those up there, and all my X-Wing stuff is in one of these.
I see the one I got from Leo.
Nice.
And
I
never got a Raider, which I still want. Even I'll never play with it. I
don't have the Gazanti, the Imperial Gazanti yet. That's the only one of the epic
I
ships.
have that one.
And I don't, which is funny because I have 2 Corvettes, I have 2 Raiders, but I have 0 Gazantis.
I really want a Raider because it's also like an extra cool just piece of Star Wars gaming lore, and like just kind of like Jodocast nerdery, because it was they needed if you're unfamiliar, the Imperial Raider was an original creation from Fantasy Flight. They worked with Lucasfilm because they needed a ship to fit X-Wing Epic, but all the Imperial ships were way too big for the scale. So like, we need a smaller but still big ship. So let's just make up one. And now that ship is in, all sorts of I think Battlefront 2 is the next time it showed up, and now it's just kind of all over the place. It's a
Yeah,
cool
Well,
ship.
I
it's
mean,
in Star Wars Unlimited.
it
It's like
it
it's
was it
cool.
was the ship used by Inferno Squadron, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
it is the gamer's ship.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of those releases were so wild too, because like if you remember, like Rebels was like fresh and new on the air at the time, and they were like, it was so exciting to be like, oh, they're announcing the ship from Rebels, which is currently on. Oh, they have the Inquisitor tie from Rebels too, stuff like that, and then once you got up to like Force Awakens, like they had ships coming out like right around the same time as the
That
movie.
was an issue, though.
Yeah,
Because
there's
Cool
downsides
issue.
to that, but it was so exciting to be like, wow, every new thing that's coming out is like such a
Yeah.
cool
It
model.
was it was cool to go to that first, what the heck was it called, Force Friday or
yeah,
whatever,
Mm.
when they had that midnight release of all the toys and all that
Oh.
other stuff, to be able to also go and pick up an X-Wing, some X-Wing
Yup.
stuff at the same time.
yeah.
I was
The
just thought it
reason
was
it
really
was
cool.
slightly not the best was just because the designers got basically zero info on the characters.
Mhm.
So, like the game came out and like Poe Dameron was like not as good as he should have been based on his.
Yeah.
And then later they released a new version of Poe Dameron that like fit,
Yeah.
but
Either
it
that or they just sent them the models for the ships but didn't tell them how big they were supposed to
oh
be. So
yeah,
we
that
got the
happened
tiny
before.
we got the TIE silencer that was way too big. Was it too big or too
I
small
think
to
it was
start
too
with?
Too small.
small.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then they
it
had to
was like
re-release.
They're like,
yeah.
it's probably the same size as like other like tie type ships. It's like, oh, actually, it's like giant. So
Yeah.
That also happened with the TIE. Uh, Wait, did you said TIE silencer? The TIE striker also was a little bit incongruent with the lore. I think
Yeah.
but anyway,
That
it
one they
was
never.
fun to have things come out at the same time. Like
yeah,
if like they
so
announced
much
like
hype to that,
Mhm.
a Shatterpoint pack with characters from the Acolyte, like that was coming out next week, that would be cool. But it's like, well, these things have like 2 year lead time and they don't get that information. So
Yeah.
it's easier.
Yeah.
It's better for the gameplay to sit on it.
Mhm.
But
So did both you, Joe, and Evan attend the hyperspace event with me? The X-wing hyperspace media event.
Oh, where you got the
did you get a mug?
I
no,
yeah, this mug, in fact, right here.
Was that in 2018?
was that when you got your
For
Yes,
2.0
because
X-wing?
for 2.0,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah,
that
I
was
got
the
that.
hy-
No, I was not.
Okay, I couldn't
I was
remember if
there.
you were there or not. You
No.
were?
I think I
Yeah.
was there. I feel like we were all there. But also I don't remember sitting there, but I do remember recording the unboxing in the hotel room. So I was like on premises somewhere. So I don't know why I wouldn't have been in the room if I was there.
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember that was weird. A weird thing where they were just sort of all like, "Hey, we're having this hyperspace media event. Go here to sign up if you want to go." And like that's all it was, and they didn't tell anybody what it was. And we were like, "All right, well, it's only a few hour drive for us down to FFG headquarters, so we'll go." Yeah, and that's when it turned out that they announced X-Wing 2.0 second
That
edition.
wasn't during a Worlds.
No, it was at that.
Yeah,
It was at that hyperspace
it was
event.
very bizarre.
Then I wasn't there. That's why you were the only one who got it. But you must have held on to that thing because we did an unboxing of it,
Such as
and
it
I was there.
yeah.
But I
So,
wouldn't have like.
I
No,
want to say it
maybe
was
we got
at.
maybe we got the ship at Worlds, but
So I think
That makes sense.
I was feeling like the event was part of Worlds, and it was like a day before Worlds or a day early.
maybe that's what it was.
It was something
a-
like that, and so you, I
Ah.
think, were at Worlds with us, but you weren't able to get to the actual event, probably.
That makes sense.
yeah, that
And
would
we
make
got
sense.
ships. We got the ship, I think, right, like coming into or coming out of that thing. But then I think were there maybe extra ones available for other people at Worlds? That part I forget. But for sure, we got the X-Wing with the foldable S foils too for the very
Oh,
first
that was
time.
so cool when they added that.
And that
Um,
was wild. So like, oh look, the dial's different, the tokens are different. It was like just
Might actually have
crazy.
to go back and watch that video
I'm
on
looking
our.
for it now.
It should just be X-Wing 2.0 unboxing, or if you go, I don't know if I have
I
a
didn't.
popular
It's a short,
playlist,
isn't
but
it?
no,
and
that's a different
YouTube
one.
Shorts, that was so long ago. Shorts didn't exist, I don't
Well,
think.
I was
I think
looking
it's
for it and I
vertical
couldn't find it.
orientation. But
It's-
yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah. But anyway, so that, I mean, that was a cool event, even though it was sort of strange the way uh they did it, but it was really cool to see them present it. And for me anyways, second edition really ended up re-energizing my interest in the game, because I had actually dropped out for a little bit. I missed that. I most of the last
Later
like
waves.
2 waves. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think the last wave where I bought every ship of at the time had been the one with the like the Fang Fighters and the Shadowcaster.
Mhm.
Um, and then was sort of I was just the way the competitive scene was with some of, like I said, some of the stuff with like twin laser cannons and uh, you know, K wings with their slam actions and stuff like that. I was just, I think, well, yeah, K
They're
wings. That was still at that time,
Mhm.
a
right?
dumb ship.
Yep.
Anyways, I was just sort of like kind of over X Wing at the time and
Ye-
quit um,
My
quit
I
collecting. But then second
I
edition brought me
so
back.
I we moved to Tucson in 2016, and I there was a huge X-Wing community here, and I was like, cool, people to keep playing this game with, and that's how I sort of got burnt out on the game, because there were the way the events were being run was really frustrating. For the longest time, the leagues were like random pairings, not Swiss pairings or anything. It was just random, so I'd play the same people like 3 times in a row, and they were like there was just like a real hyper competitive community, which was like, that's not what I want out of X-Wing right now, and I got a little burnt out on it. And then I dipped back in for a little bit when 2.0 came out, and but it was at the time 2.0 came out was about when Legion was kicking off, and so I'm like, well, I only have time for one of these. And so every time I've played X-Wing since like kind of being not in the community, I'm like, man, this game's so good. It's so fun. I should play this more often. And then I just don't have time because everybody I play games with are playing Legion and Shatterpoint and stuff.
Yeah, locally, we were able to get some leagues going pretty regularly during 2.0. I think we probably had fairly small leagues usually compared to earlier days, but we still had like a lot of people
Yeah, I mean, we'd still
going
get,
steady, you know?
around 10 or a dozen people playing in those leagues, and I think that was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like a lot of things, COVID basically killed that.
Yeah.
I mean, um, and I think that was kind of the story all over the place, not just in our area. Um,
Yeah, I think if you go back, there was I don't know the exact numbers, but I think there were a fair number of people who never made the transition to 2.0. You know, it's always tough to like be interested in like these conversion kits and stuff. A lot of people just stopped immediately then. Now it got a fair number of new people too, but I would guess, again, based off no actual numbers, I would guess second edition was never quite as popular as first edition, especially for new people who there just weren't a lot of ships to buy into without the conversion kits for a long time, right? So it's kind of a rocky start in a lot of ways.
That
Yeah,
And
because
then
you would get the game if you were new to the game and you'd only have a handful of ships, where everyone else who had been playing and had the conversion kits had, you know,
mhm.
all of the ships.
yeah, it was tough. I don't know how they could have done that better, but I think that was something that was like one of the first big impacts to the player base. After that, after they had a few waves of new factions and stuff, which was great. That's eventually when we got into the like switching it over to AMG years, which I think it seemed kind of smooth at first in the sense that product was still coming out right because they had so many waves like already pre-created that stuff continued to come out, but they basically lost a lot of the original design team at the same time too. So you could see like
Yeah.
that stuff's going to run out at some point. So like each of these steps, and then the pandemic happened, like you said, they lost a lot of players. Then lost more players eventually in 2.5. So it's kind of been a bunch of small, or I don't know, whatever, but a series of decreases of player base for a while. Even as there were some new players, I'm guessing it on average has been losing more players than it's got, like for several years.
Yeah,
Probably,
there were an absolute ton of milestones in this game that really only saw 1.5 version changes, and
Mhm.
a 12-year lifespan especially for a licensed IP. That's pretty good.
Yeah. If you
And
look at the number of expansions and ships
Mhm.
and things they released in that time, like they went a long time, a lot longer than a lot of games uh, that even spun off from X-Wing, with like similar rule
So
sets. So
mhm.
so in actually when we were saying it was like a 60-year-old man who dropped dead, it was like after he died we go, oh, actually that was a cat. He lived a really long time for a cat.
Yep. That's true.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like sad for it to end, but you
Yeah.
can also say like, wow, it really did last a long time, and we had
So
so much fun
It
with it
did.
so the
while it
thing
lasted.
is, they don't have to end. I mean, just because the game's no longer in active development doesn't mean Atomic Mass Games is going to come by and take away all your shit.
Yeah,
Everyone still has all the ships they have.
They
Everyone
can't
can
take it from
still
me. I'm
play the
gonna
game.
burn it.
Here comes CCG
So,
Leo.
it's not a digital live service where you can't connect to the server anymore.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
As long as
you
no one
won't be able
burns
to
their
access. I
collection.
mean, although with second edition, since points and stuff aren't out there, you do have to rely on either fan built list builders or download the PDFs before they
But
disappear.
I think that is a brilliant position for I know there's a lot of voices in the wilderness right now in terms of content, quote unquote continuity committee, but the fact that the greater they don't have to be beholden to points on the printed cards, they can make the evaluations that quote unquote need to be made.
Well, I mean, it's never stopped any other group from issuing a errata on things with these,
No,
but
true,
with
but
stuff
it's a
being
pain in
printed
the
on the card.
ass.
Yeah, yes. So let's talk about what the future for X-Wing and Armada might look like. So
No future. Bleak.
yeah,
Over.
dead,
Done.
dead. Like I said, everyone can still keep playing the way they've always played. Nothing
Oh,
stops
so
that.
now
There
here we
is
are
also
at the
Oh.
funeral, and Leo steps up and he goes, "I am Leo Frankenstein. I have a suggestion."
Join me,
so
my friends.
And we all go, "We're listening."
yes. So now with Armada,
Pull the strings.
Armada, as we said, has been, you know, it, with one foot in the grave for a couple years now. I mean, it was not very long after Armada was given to AMG that they were like, yeah, we're not going to be making any new ships, so not for now. They said for now. Well, for now turned out to be forever, but
Which is still for now.
yep, fair enough. I mean, there's nothing that says that they couldn't revive it someday down the road. But because they've been in that situation for a long time, there's been time for um, some groups to kind of coalesce and start becoming like what the players committee is for the Star Wars CCG, or the continuity project is for Imperial Assault. And like here with Armada, there's a group called Armada Legacy. Now they have already, even before this announcement, they've released a couple waves of their own ships, with some cards, and they stuff you can print out to cover the cardboard. It's, and then they've done some errata for existing ships, things like that, and then also some new ships, like I know I saw they had dreadnoughts, and then with the dreadnoughts came like a whole bunch of Thrawn trilogy themed upgrades. So if you ever wanted to equip Joris Kaboth on your
Oh
ship,
boy.
you now can.
What about Luke?
I don't think Luke was there. So yeah, I mean, so they had been doing some stuff, but now that the game is dead, both feet are in the grave, not just one. They came out with an announcement, or I should say, basically the roadmap for their plans for the future. First is they're going to be launching an Armada Legacy website. They are going to be revising the stuff that they've put out already. Like they're planning on basically, essentially, I would guess it would be almost like playtesters. They're calling them independent reviewers to go and like review everything they've done. So there's that. They are talking about having merchant partners that you'll be able to work with to buy some of the ships and printed versions of the cards and things like that.
That sounds like something that could run into legal trouble. Maybe won't.
I mean, it could, but at the same time, I mean, there's Etsy has a zillion people selling models and stuff already, so
right. Like maybe when you combine the model with like some cards that include artwork, and then all of a sudden those things click, and then Lucasfilm goes.
Well, and what's great is that you don't have to name everything 100% exactly. It can be It can be Kirkland brand, dreadnought ship, and the models can be agnostic at this point, which is great. It can be like, as long as it's familiar enough to say this is the invisible.
I would hate that.
But everybody.
That's not why you're playing Armada.
Everybody who's playing that wants it to be the thing.
Yeah,
they're not going to want.
It's gonna be, but it's still the off-brand version, and that's fine.
Well, not if I get I'm going to get like a Mel Miniatures model. I'm not going to get like the model that's like the Millennium Falcon with, all smooth.
Yeah, nobody's going to get the aluminum Falcon.
But if you're talking about, Disney's going to care, like, no, they're not. First of all, and secondly, if you're concerned about that, you can get the Kirkland brand version. But the point is that if you have a card,
Disney's not going to care if you buy it. It's the sellers who have to worry.
They're not going to worry. They do not have to worry.
I don't know. I've had stuff I've sold copyright stricken by Disney. It happens. But I mean, they're not going to come after you with lawyers and shit. They're just going to get if you're on Etsy, they'll just get the product removed from your Etsy store. But the problem is, you do actually have to worry about that on Etsy, because Etsy is actually, if you get too many copyright strikes, they take down your whole damn store then, and they do some shit with IPs and stuff to try and keep people from opening up additional stores. I mean, not that it really stops anybody, but it does make it a little bit more of a pain.
Space monks with head tails have not gotten taken off. It's just that's plain fact. Those
That's
are not
just
gone.
but that's just they changed the name, and
Yeah, they changed the
but
name. That's it. Still
but
Universal.
yeah,
But you can.
But this is like a
It's
closer partnership, I think, is what Leo and Joe are saying, that like according to the official announcement, this like merchant partnership, this is gonna be like, this is called Armada Legacy, and it's gonna be like on the name of the thing or somehow linked to it. Like at the point that you're selling the cards and stuff, that's a little different from just having generic
but I
ship.
don't think there's
yeah.
going to be
Sure, sure.
much selling of rules. Rules will probably be free downloadable, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm sure
of
it's
course they
print
are.
and play, but then you just it's
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
take
no,
and
I
that
mean,
then you
I'm
buy the
right.
models and you just play whatever.
yeah, but I mean, they're gonna have merchants who are gonna sell nice printed versions of the cards
Yeah,
Yeah,
and stuff if you want them.
sure.
yeah.
They're also going to be building their own in-house fleet builder, which I, as an as a fairly casual Armada player, am kind of excited about, because, frankly, I think all the fleet builder uh, sites out there for Armada kind of stink. I don't
Well,
like
I
the way
guess
any of them work, to be
you're hoping
honest.
this one doesn't
So
stink.
I'm hoping that um, this one's a little bit nicer. We'll see. And then they've got a third wave of ships that they're working on and playtesting right now.
Yeah, they have a whole
And
map for
yeah,
this.
so
Treating it
that's
very seriously.
yeah. So I mean, there's definitely there's going to be Armada stuff out there for people who still want new things. They're not going to come from Atomic Mass Games, but I mean, I think they are going to be coming from people who, frankly, I honestly think care about the game and are way more interested in what they would be making for the game than anyone at Atomic Mass was going to be, anyways. So there you go. And I think we've seen some of this same stuff with X-Wing. There's kind of been like this whole like X-Wing legacy thing that's been going on kind of pretty much ever since 2.5 was announced. Um, that has been like a group kind of, you know, trying to stick more with the original second edition rules and things like that. Um, but it's never been like really, I don't think it's ever been like an organized thing to try and replace or start developing new X-Wing stuff. So instead, what it seems like might be happening here is, I think and there, like Evan alluded to, there's been a few different people who have come out and been like, we're going to be the ones to save or continue X-Wing. And the biggest problem is as a community, there's a lot of people who really can't agree on what the future of X-Wing should look like. Because
You
there's
can't agree what like the present and past of X-Wing should.
because there's people who want to roll all the way back to pure second edition. There's people who want to just keep going forward with uh 2.5, but maybe with still like points adjustments and things like that. And there's other people who are advocating sort of like a 2.25 sort of system where it's like, maybe we keep like random order after dials because that did solve some problems, or maybe we keep objectives because that prevents people from hiding out in a corner of the map and doing nothing and not interacting with the rest of the board. um, because if you do that, you can't go get the objective. So but maybe they don't like the way the list building works with 2.5, or maybe some people, they don't like the way bumping or bumping other ships or hitting obstacles works. There's all kinds of discussions going on there, but I think the group right now that seems to be the most likely to kind of take the reins for X-Wing is the X-Wing Alliance. I don't think that that's actually like what they're calling themselves right now. I think that's just something that Reddit's kind of called them. But it's a group of a lot of high-level X-Wing players, X-Wing content creators. Like I think a lot of like Gold Squadron people
Mhm.
are in there, and there's also some of the app developers, like the developer for yet another squad builder, one of the TTS mod developer is part of this group, and it's also made up of a big group from people around the world. There's U.S., Poland, Spain, New Zealand, France, Italy. A lot of different countries here are being represented. So I think it's like a true worldwide group. And they put out a statement here the other day. Basically says that this group includes people behind several high-profile X-Wing communities, resources, and a collaborative goal is to keep the game healthy and guide it into the future. It's not an exclusive or closed group. We will strive for transparency at all times. Rest assured that we will do our very best to make sure that the end of official development does not mean the end of this game that we love. We are still in the early stages of defining what needs to be done, and more communication will follow as details become available.
Are
So
they going to add Exegorth?
yes, that's actually a little asterisk at the bottom of the page. It says yes, we will be adding Exegorth.
So
So I think it's one of those things where it's really too early to say what exactly the future of X-Wing is going to look like. But I think it's going to be
a civil war.
Power vacuum.
Yeah. But I feel like these guys are going to be the ones to keep an eye on. I think it's all going to be a matter of, if one single group is going to support 2.5 and 2.0 kind of all at the same time, or if we're going to end up with two different groups doing each different format. I don't know.
So there's like two ships in particular that I wish would have come out before the game ended, which was the Marauder, the Bad Batch's ship,
Yeah.
and Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter seem like obvious choices to add to this game over all the other ones.
Speaking of ships that didn't come out before this announcement, I was trying to see if I could find if they'd said anything about the Star Wing. And I couldn't find anything official. Maybe I could have but some people on Reddit had said that apparently during one of the painting streams, they said that the Star Wing will not be getting released.
Dang.
Ooh, there might be a couple like in a factory dumpster in China right now.
But again, there was like no sources for that, and I was too lazy to go sit through some painting streams to try and find out for sure. So I can't say 100%, but it seems like we might never actually see the Star Wing reprint, which I'm sad about because I did actually really want a new Star Wing. I do finally have one. I did get one not that long ago, a first edition one, and that made me a very happy boy because I wanted that for a long time. But
remember the TIE Punisher?
Yeah, I've got
Ultra Bomber.
I've got like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, the interesting thing is this happened with Imperial Assault. Imperial Assault ended, one of my favorite games of all time, game I played so much of. Then they had a continuity project. I had friends who were doing that, and it was just like I could not like get myself to be interested in that. It was like, oh cool, that's a character that I always wanted in this game, and you guys made him. And I just, part of it is like it's not real. It's fake. It's bootleg. But also part of it is just there are other games I'm still enjoying that are continuing to come out with new official products that are being officially supported, and that's where I'm going to be spending my time on like what's quote unquote real. Obviously, the stuff these people make isn't licensed, it's not whatever, but they're still these are like the most passionate fans who know the game in and out making it, so it's not like it's like, crap. It's obviously like, well thought out stuff, and it's just I just personally like once it's like doesn't have like it's not officially licensed anymore, which is a silly thing. I don't have that interest in it anymore.
It's
Even
tough.
though I would still like I said, if they come out with stats for the Marauder, I would like to play against somebody who like has their own 3D printed copy, but like
And the truth is, if you do stick with it, it's possible to keep playing, but there's fewer people to play with. It's harder to get the minis you want because you have to get it 3D printed or order through Etsy, and it's always going to be more difficult than if it were still an official game. So
Yeah,
like,
there's-
it's harder.
because there's always going to be that that issue where it's all like, especially if like X-Wing does end up splintering off into a couple different groups with a couple different rule sets. It's like, okay, well, let's play X-Wing. Okay, well, what kind of X-Wing are we going to play? Are we going to play?
Oh no!
Are we going to play the rules as they were when the game died? Are we going to play with
Now you're making
Yeah,
me think
that's-
about that thing from
The Stan
that
version,
Civil War
Stan
movie.
version.
Not the good Civil War, Tony and Steve, but that recent Civil War movie. Like, hey man, we're all X-Wing players. Okay, what kind of X-Wing players?
that's
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to like make sure I print a PDF of the current rules and print the points, because I see myself wanting to play X-Wing in the future, but I see myself only wanting to play
Official.
what I own and how it is now, and not trying to learn more new
Yeah.
stuff. And because I have most of the stuff except the prequel ships, and that's enough if it's just me and Bethany or me and a couple other friends who want to play it. There's enough replay there to last me forever because I'm not going to be playing it every weekend,
Yeah.
and so that's fine. But I need to make sure what I'm playing is like the version of it I want to play. Which is
Yeah.
I'm
gonna be
hoping I
more
can
fun.
find somebody now like unloading their collection of prequel ships kind of cheap, so I can get those.
No, I'm sure
finish
there
out
will
my
be.
collection of those.
There'll
I've
be a
got-
bunch of people who sell off.
Yeah.
As soon as it's dead, they're gonna sell all that stuff. They don't want to keep it.
Uh,
I still have all my cardboard and cards from 1.0, so if I
Yeah.
wanted to, I could still play 1.0. I
Same.
had to like when I was packing all these boxes, I'm like, do I just throw that away? It's like, no, it's a different game. It's its own game. That means it belongs in the collection because it's a game on its own, right? It's not garbage. I had to like it felt weird because I had stacks and stacks of superfluous cards, especially for X-Wing. When you get 3 copies of the same thing, you only need 1 copy of like a unique card. So I had a bunch of extras that I finally threw in the garbage. And it felt
Yeah,
weird.
those I probably will throw away soon. Finally. But the official stuff I want to keep, even if I don't end up finding people to bust it out with. Like, to me, it's kind of nostalgic to have it, and I have gone through my first edition stuff and like looked through, like, oh yeah, this pilot, oh yeah, this card, and it's kind of fun. It's the same for me as looking through my Decipher CCG cards. It's like just kind of a memory of this other time, even if I'm not still using it. And the models are great. The models are still so great.
mhm.
Well,
Really,
I'm down to I will be within driving distance and we can play X-Wing.
We'll have
Yeah.
mini
I would do
Jodo Con weekends.
yeah.
At this point, seeing how
And
many
now
people
if-
put on just like 2-day events at their local honky tonk, there is no reason we can't actually do Jodo Con.
Yeah,
I
we
can-
should
I
we
can
should
probably-
rent out the honky tonk here.
I can probably rent out the
the VW,
room at
the VFW. Let's get the VF.
Hey, I mean, the VF here in Fargo does have like a basement that they sometimes will have like concerts and stuff in.
I've played
Um,
in that VFW basement.
yeah, I bet we could.
My
I bet you could during the day rent it out for the day.
Yeah.
the house I'm buying has a large unfinished basement, which at the moment could just be the convention floor
There you
because
go.
there's
Yeah.
there's a pool table and like a toilet in the middle of the
Wow.
room and
That's
nothing
more than
else.
some conventions.
Yeah, throw a curtain up.
Just
You
say, the
put a put
closer
a.
the
It needs a little
JodoCon is
tiny
to
tiny kiddie pool ball pit,
yeah
please.
the closer we can fill the ball pool with our extra Destiny dice. The closer the convention is to where I live, the more of my stupid collection can be in attendance.
Oh joy.
You know, now that Joe's going to be back within driving distance, the pressure's going to be on for you to move back to Minnesota here, Evan. So,
Hey, the pressure is accumulating.
Do you guys remember I was just thinking, in 1.0, every large ship box, for a while, they eventually gave up on it, came with like a scenario.
yeah, those were
Didn't
cool.
they all?
I think they gave up
The-
on a while because nobody played them, but they were fun. And then I was like, I want more of that, like one-off asymmetrical scenarios. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
wait, they sort of have done that. AMG did that with the Battle of Yavin Pack, which that's the next time I play X-Wing, I want to play the Battle of Yavin Pack because I picked it up and I wanted to make a video of it and I just haven't had time. And I need to pick up the Battle over Endor pack as well, and hopefully that doesn't like become hard to find soon because I really want that one as well. Because I like I don't never gonna want to play X-Wing competitively. It's just such a fun little game. I want those little story scenarios. That sounds really cool. And maybe if the people continuing the game start putting out things like that, I would be pretty interested in one-off
Yeah.
asymmetrical
yeah,
scenarios.
some kind of a new like Hotak type of thing could be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another wild thing about this game we didn't touch on. Like, people were making basically, even before like the X-Wing line stuff like this, there was like stuff like Heroes of the Artillery Cluster that's like, I'm gonna make a whole fan-made expansion basically for this other game, add on a story mode basically. People have been doing that for a long time. Like, it's kind of just like more of that in a way.
Hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm definitely really, the news really, really bummed me out. I mean, at least about X-Wing. Armada, not so much because we sort of all knew that was already how it was. Um,
It's
but
still
I
sad
think,
to be
I think,
official.
you know, there's still a future for the game, and really, I think it's there's I mean it's obviously it's never going to get any bigger than it is right now, just because if the stuff isn't in the stores, bringing in new players is hard, is a lot harder. But
Yeah, and the stores are less likely to run events. It's just that much harder to, get an event set up, and
yeah,
I
yeah, it's gonna
think
be
there
tough.
will be like fan-made worlds, even if the AMG
Mhm.
continues to do official worlds for a while. If they are going to be putting out fan-made content, there will be like a worlds that is using that format as well, and I think that'll probably be a thing because they were people talking about that at Adepticon because they were like, they're not telling us anything. If this game is dead, maybe we should just go do our own thing.
Are you referring
Yeah.
to the I've
Maybe.
interviewed the British royalty?
And one thing I wanted to um, do you think if they pivoted, because ostensibly the main official reason these games are done is because it's unfeasible to produce pre-painted, pre-assembled miniatures. If they just put them out on sprues unpainted, do you think how would that affect like the player base or the game? Because I think a lot of people would. I think more people wouldn't. Because I think that was one of the big appeals of X-Wing is pre-painted.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
for
I'm gonna
sure.
jump in right here because I've been waiting for this moment. Because I I don't know about anybody else. I am in a wildly different place with miniatures now than 2012. In 2012, being told you don't need to buy a million books, you don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on an army, you don't need to worry about painting or assembling, you don't need to worry about buying a new book in 3 5 years. All of that sounded great because that that was and even is amplified now in Warhammer because it's an exactly 3 year turnaround for 40k and AOS. And at that time, that messaging was exactly what uh, those who were not miniatures people wanted to hear. I think it's a vastly different landscape now where if you handed someone a box of sprued X-Wing and said, put it together, the rules are free for you to download. There's no printed rules. It's just assemble your guy, print off your rules, and paint it up. Like, that sounds rad. And to me, and I think that would sound rad to a whole new uh, group of gamers today versus 2012 when it was like, hey, pre-painted, here you go, play.
I don't know. I still feel like I feel like the the pre-painted thing is still going to be the bigger draw for people.
Yeah, I
Or at the very least pre-assembled. Like I was saying, what if it, we like Whiz Kids and a few other places they sell you get a mini that's already it's you don't have to assemble it or anything, but it's unpainted. It's primed, but it's unpainted. You know, and well, and
rules are
even
fine
like
like that.
Star Trek Attack Wing has a
Mm-hmm.
line of uh, ships that they sell like
Is that
that
game
too.
still a thing?
No,
Yeah,
it
and
is
you can
not.
still buy it in the store.
But
You can buy
But
it.
I
It's
could
not being
see
yeah,
produced.
I
um,
could see doing that. You have like kind of the cheaper, easier entry line, and you can still do a premium line that is the pre-painted, and then it costs more.
Because
Oh
So
there's
yeah, that's
like
obviously
ways they could have worked around
that's
that.
what WizKids calls frameworks.
And I do think you realistically do lose some players that way because some people say, I don't want the cheaper unpainted. I don't want to pay more. So, any of these decisions, you're going to lose some players. But, you know, I think they could have done something like that and kept the business going and still, yeah, maybe not from Asmodee's perspective, I guess, but, they could have still had a player base.
yeah,
I
and
think from a
maybe
consumer
like
perspective, you can either buy the old stuff and just say counts as done. That's it. Or if you're forced to buy new unpainted things, you pay somebody else to do it because you're too lazy to paint it yourself.
yeah, I feel like they probably had that conversation and decided that it would fundamentally alter the game in such
Mm-hmm.
a big way that it would be like this isn't even the same like experience. There's might as
For
well just
sure.
end it.
And the other thing, oh crap! Now I
They're
lost
so
my train of
small
thought.
too.
Uh,
Thinking of like assembling those, they're so small.
they are.
You could do a very simple kind of snap fit type thing, like an
Oh
A-wing
yeah,
comes in like 4 pieces or something,
and
you know.
what else is worth really talking about is not even the fact that they're pre-painted, but the fact that they're pre-painted to such a high level.
Yeah, they're so much better than Whiz Kids. Like,
Yes.
no offense, but they're
Oh,
way
offense.
better, and
Offense.
for not a crazy price point.
I wonder.
Yeah, there's a huge cost loss on that compared to the pre-painted D&D minis that honestly, yeah, they're not good.
And I wonder how, like, if they, we won't know. Even the money nerds at Asmodee probably wouldn't even know. But, like, how different it would be if, because remember when 2.0 came out, the quality in the sculpts and the pre-painted went up
Mm-hmm.
a bunch.
Mhm.
Like, what if they just kept it at like the good enough from 1.0? Like, I wonder how much
It would
that
have been fine,
added
yeah.
cost it to refine those sculpts, have the moving bits, because they
It was cool, but yeah,
it's a
they
huge
didn't
leap.
need to do it, and they didn't need to release another tie silencer that was a little bit bigger. There's a bunch of stuff like that feels like stuff Asmodee is less in favor of, but FFG did. I'm giving them like maybe too much credit, but still, it was like they're making a gamers game. They want to
I
make
think
this.
that was definitely an FFG 2016 decision. That is definitely in that realm of like we have a game that is great. Let's make it even better.
Yeah.
Well, any closing remarks before we all step away from the casket and watch it slowly lower into the ground as...
Oh, we're not doing Viking funeral or Starfleet funeral. Shoot him off in a torpedo to the Genesis planet.
I think what do they do in either the Alphabet Squadron books or the X-Wing books? Don't they they don't drink like jet fuel. They have like a little pass a drink around in the hangar and like pour some in like the incinerator. I don't
I
remember.
think it was like from a certain point of view we saw some of that, but
Not some port in a
but
storm.
yeah, little send off.
Yeah, so I honestly won't be high on my list, but I do want to make more X-Wing video content someday whenever I get
That'd be
around
cool.
to Battle of Yavin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think any of us are done with X-Wing. Probably more done than a lot of people, but we're not done. But
Dun,
Yeah,
dun.
I'm not selling my stuff off.
no, I don't. I still need to buy Armada eventually.
Well, you need to
Maybe.
do it while you still can.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
actually, you know what? Now that you say that, another thought that I had was do it now, because if you wait and they become scarce, they're gonna go up in price because people are gonna want them, and they're gonna be
Yeah,
hard to get.
the problem is I don't want to buy a giant bulk of things when I am trying to move across the country. I'll buy it when I get there, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to
It might be
arrange a
too late.
deal with someone where you're like, I'll buy this now, but don't ship it for like 3 months.
Yeah, basically. Because yeah, Armada's really the biggest hole in my collection.
Yeah.
The
really
old
sad.
Armada hole.
Yeah, which was basically because it came out and I was in X-Wing. I'm like, well, I like X-Wing more, and I can't do both. And now
Yeah.
I could maybe afford to like get like a small collection of it, and it's. What do you mean? Why is everyone shaking their heads at me?
I'm not shaking my head at you.
It's
'cause
sad.
We both
I don't know.
we both did the same thing. Me and you.
I couldn't afford it, and now
we-
that
we-
I can, there was
played
nobody to
Armada.
play
I
it
didn't
with.
buy any of it. I don't know what I'm
and we
talking
were
about.
like, it's fun, but we're broke because we're both working at J.C. Penney's and they pay us shit. And
Damn it, JCPenney.
Yeah, it's all.
and it was similar enough to X-Wing
Yeah.
to where we both felt like we're just going to stick with X-Wing because we've already invested a ton in that, and it's yeah.
Not at all like Legion and
Yeah,
Shatterpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
no.
at all.
No.
Well, goodbye, X-Wing.
Play some. Do we have Sad Hulk queued up? I hope. Wow, that is not Sad Hulk. I want to see Bruce Banner walk off to this.
It's like the I think you should leave sketch with the organist that has all the sound effects. That's what that's the equivalent of.
Yeah, they win. X-Wing is done.
New X-Wing announcement? Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
X-Wing and Armada in one day. This is great.
They said there was stuff coming. This is
Well, yeah, just let us. You come on in Discord and tell us your history of X-wing. Unless it's like real problematic, then I don't want to hear
Oh,
it. But
also drop your thoughts in the comments in the bottom of
yes,
the
please.
YouTube, and
Yeah,
yeah, we'd love to read the comments. Unlike
I'm
most people.
I'm sure everyone has a lot of feelings about this, whether they're mad or bittersweet or whatever. There's a lot
Kind
of
of
feelings involving this, I
relieved
think.
that the suffering is over in a way.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I want to hear people's conspiracy theories. Are they doing this because they're actually working on a new game that's going to
Oh
be like
gosh.
even better?
I don't know. I've heard
oh,
some people who are like, "Oh, this is they did this, so the games are going to get given back to Fantasy Flight now." That's never going to happen in a million
that's
years. I'm
silly.
sorry.
They're going to be
That's
given to
That's
Ghost Galaxy. That's who's getting it.
yeah. There's more chance of that happening than
And then
that. So
Dave
that.
Filoni is going to
Fantasy
take
Flight.
over Fantasy Flight like he's been planning this whole
Wait,
Yes,
time.
so this
finally.
conspiracy theory is they're going, okay, we're just going to cancel this game, and Asmodee will be fine. We'll order Fantasy Flight to keep making it. No, I think we're probably pretty close with assuming that this directive came from somebody who is only interested in profits rather than anything else.
Yeah.
I can't
But
believe you'd say that about a hyper mega corporation. How dare you, sir?
But you could also say from a business perspective, like honestly, that's some resources that are freed up to work on something else. Maybe they'll just fire those people. I don't know. We haven't heard
Probably.
anything like that, but
Is there anybody to fire from the Armada or X-wing development
Yeah,
maybe
I
they
don't.
just have more time for Legion now. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know if we know that there was anybody 100% on X-wing and not double dipping on all of the
Yeah.
games.
It was the guy in the
Um,
basement closet. Like, hey, got any X-Wing down there? Like, do I have money? Nope.
The one guy working on it left for another company, and they're like, "Well, no one else knows how to make this game."
He
The
took the
algorithm
X-wing
is
algorithm.
yeah, he took the algorithm. No, they'll
That's a
be.
Keyforge joke, people.
They're gonna bring out AI, but it's X-wing is gonna be all AI designed.
Yeah, at least it didn't get that far. Like, died before that could be announced. So
To be honest, I don't think AI could design some weirder tie variants than already existed in the EU. So
yeah,
Now
No, I'm just saying. You just say, hey, design an X-wing 2.5 card for Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter, and then it goes, okay, well, it has got 10 red attack, 3 defense.
6 fingers. But now you've got me thinking about what would if we had ever. I know we're really dragging this out, but final thought from me: what if we had hit the point where there was an X-wing mobile game just for your phone? Because it would just be hit the buttons, right? It would just be so click your ship, click the command dial, click the direction you want to go, and hit enter, and then
All
completely turn based. That would be honestly pretty good.
I'd play the hell out of that.
Yeah.
all
yeah.
of
I would, I
these.
would, I would buy all the microtransactions for the skins for my X-wings.
Yeah.
Like
Especially if it was like an online
if
game.
they were like, you could get the paint job for your X-wing to look like Corn Horns, Carillion
Yeah, the
Security
green.
Forces
Yeah.
X-wing. I would throw so much money at that.
Oh man, that just reminded me the new version of the E-wing deserved to have been in this game.
Yeah,
Ahsoka version.
would have been cool.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, this game and Destiny deserve to have like Steam versions.
yes, they do. Honestly, they do. They would be good. And if anybody needs a end of first edition, was it Saw's U-wing or whatever, the one that never got re-released in 2.0?
That one came with the 2.0
Oh,
and 1.0
that's right.
cards.
It came with 2.0 stuff.
yeah. It was the weird middle.
Yeah, the middle child.
Oh, I have, you know what, reach out to me. Priority will probably go to patrons, but I have a promo Fen Rao from must have been Worlds 2018 or something, where one side is the 1.0 and the other side is the 2.0, and it's like an alt art promo.
Wow, that's wild.
Maybe that'll be some kind of like door prize at JodoCon.
That's a damn unicorn right there. Jeez.
Anyway, now the episode's over.
I promise.
Rest in peace.